For the first time in more than 3 decades, the U.S. and Cuba are holding high-level talks. The two-day meeting began today and is expected to lay the groundwork for re-establishing diplomatic ties between the two nations. And CCTV's Michael Voss is in Havana. Michael, what's the latest?
Michelle, I think it is really fair to say that these are historic negotiations as the two sides try to put aside more than 50 years of hostility and restore diplomatic relations. Increased trade and travel could follow. Americans still can't come here as tourists, but it is now much easier to visit for a variety of reasons, such as education, religious or cultural tours. But can Cuba cope with a sudden influx of Americans?
These two Americans were given permission to come to Cuba to study its culture. They're visiting art studios and music workshops. Getting here involved loads of paperwork and meant applying months in advance. Now, under the new rules, these visits will become much easier to organize.
I think it's a necessary evolution of the relationship, and I really hope that Cuba is able to hold on to the best of what came out of the revolution.
Tourism is one of Cuba's major industries. Last year, it attracted around 3 million visitors, including about 100,000 US citizens who came on licensed trips. Those numbers are now expected to rise dramatically. Already in high season, most of the hotels are fully booked.
If the travel ban was lifted completely, Cuba would not be able to cope because they don't have enough beds at this time. I think there's probably about 70,000 to 80,000 beds, so more hotels would have to be built.
Some are already underway. This 5-star hotel in Havana is being built by a French construction company, one of several new hotels it's building here.
It's going to take several years before there's enough new hotels to meet an influx of American tourists, but there's no shortage of modern private restaurants.
Dozens of Cubans have taken advantage of the economic reforms to open new restaurants for foreigners. Now they'll be able to accept US credit cards. The trade embargo still stands, as does the ban on Americans coming simply as tourists. But it will now be much easier to visit this forbidden city, and thousands more are now expected to come and see it for themselves.
Michelle, Cuba lies just 90 miles, less than 150 kilometers from the coast of Florida. For half a century, this has been the forbidden island. But if these negotiations on Thursday are successful, then I think more changes will come that will make it easier for both business and travel.
Michael, if these negotiations are successful, what sort of U.S. businesses might be inclined to move into Cuba when and if diplomatic relations are restored?
Michelle, President Obama has already said that he's going to ease by presidential decree the trade embargo to allow telecommunications companies, for example, to sell televisions, laptops, internet, this sort of thing, but also the infrastructure for internet. But once this diplomatic relations are restored, we're already seeing pressure from, for example, the farm states in the United States for Congress to make it easier for them to sell agricultural products. You can sell food to Cuba now. It used to be that it was cash on demand. You had to pay cash up front, Cuba, and the US was losing all sorts of business. They used to sell rice. Now that comes from Vietnam. They used to sell chickens, frozen chickens. That now comes from Brazil. President Obama is now changing that to make that cash on delivery. But now the farm states would like an even greater opening to be able to sell more food, more agricultural products to Cuba.
All right, Michael Voss in Havana, thank you so much.